Good evening, everyone. My name is Teng Lin, as Philip has introduced me. I'm a Swansea University undergraduate. I'm also an international student. So about a month ago, my friend Maddie and I was found about Swansea Environment Forum, and we have already been very concerned about soil health. And in this month, we received great support from Environment Forum and Philip himself. So we have this opportunity to talk about environment tonight. And it also gave me an opportunity to talk about the soil that we're standing upon and how serious crisis it is in. So when I'm talking, like giving this sort of soil session, I'm also a Safe Soil volunteer, a volunteer for the Safe Soil campaign. So why do I have to speak about soil? This was about 3 weeks ago when I was in Belgrade, Serbia. It was a trip with my girlfriend, but I insist that I want to put on this t-shirt. My girlfriend was a little annoyed. He said, "Oh, why are you wearing like this?" She was dressing all beautifully, but I said, everything looks fine, but that's the problem. Because when things look just fine, it's a sunny day today, but it doesn't mean that the soil beneath us or the environment is actually working well. So what's the problem? Soil doesn't just grow our food or provide us a place to live. Actually, that's a very human-centered statement to make. Soil don't work for us. We live on the soil. It not only just provides food to us and to every creature that's living on this planet. According to UN, and also, of course, the scientific fact, the soil can also absorb carbon and decrease greenhouse effect emissions. It can provide filter infiltration so the pollutants can be prevented from entering into our drinking water. Also, a quarter of the planet's biodiversity is held by soil. And soil also provides us with fiber, fuels, medical products, and other ecosystem services. It is said that 90% of our antibiotics, actually the chemical content come from soil. So what's the crisis here? According to the UN Nations Convention for Combat Desertification and the Global Land Outlook, that is the world's most comprehensive outlook about soil health, the human activities has already transformed more than 70% of the Earth's land areas from its natural state, causing unparalleled environmental degradation and contributing significantly to global warming. You must have seen the news today that London and Birmingham are like burning hot these days, and all responsible scientists are saying that the main cause behind this unusual heat wave is due to global warming, and that's climate change. And one of its major causes is that carbon dioxide has been released not just from our activities like burning coal or producing electricity. Soil actually stores 3 times more carbon dioxide than in the living plants, and also twice the amount of that is in the atmosphere. But today, because our topics, mainly the 3 sessions, are somehow related to food, so I'll focus on food crisis. That's one of the major consequences about soil degradation. So what are the main reasons behind this? Mainly unsustainable modern agriculture. First, a lot of our agriculture, a lot of our crops are grown under a way of monoculture. That means on a large area of land, only one kind of crops are actually being brought. And the disadvantage of this is that the land is not getting enough nutrition after the harvest. It is like our body needs vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, but if you grow only one crop in a large area of land, it's getting only, say, vitamin C. They're not getting enough vitamin A and D, and after a long time, it's not healthy and it's not fertile anymore. And also tilling to put in a cruel way is like ripping the skin off and put it under the sun. That's what tilling is doing to the soil. When we're tilling, it's destructing the water waves, and it's also bringing these nutrients under the sun directly, and that means they're destroyed. Also, we grow crops on every space and every inch of land available. Also, because of the use of machines that largely boost productivity, but there's no natural vegetation or animal waste on the land that can actually nourish the soil. And then we have to use a lot of chemicals to compensate for that. So this is a vicious circle for this unsustainable and unconscious way of doing agriculture. And this is happening worldwide, in Africa, in China, in UK, worldwide. So what does it mean to us? I'll first bring something that perhaps it's minimum effect, but it could also be shocking. Let us say on nutrition in food, conclude that we would have to eat 8 oranges to get the same amount of vitamin A as our grandfathers did with 1 orange. Because poorly nourished soil can only produce food with few nutritional value. If you ever grow food in your own garden, or like you have when you have had fruit or vegetable from your own land, your own farm, that may taste much more fruity than those you got in the supermarket, because we're losing the nutrition in our modern products. And it's also scaffolded by another research that fruit and vegetable spanning 50 to 70 years, this research shows that apparent median declines of 5% to 40% of more in minerals, vitamins, and proteins group of food, especially in vegetables. And that is perhaps the minimum effect. If we look at it in a global way, in 2045, there'll be 854 million people undernourished. That means in hunger. 25,000 people die from hunger and related disease every day, including 10,000 children. And the food production will keep dropping. These are all truths that's happening. I use that is happening because that's not what's gonna happen in 2045. It's what's happening nowadays. So soil crisis is not a future crisis. It's like climate change, is like all the things that are related to unsustainable human activities is happening now. So what will happen in 2045? We don't know, but we can make a prediction. We'll be having 9.2 billion people on this planet. The food production is expected to be 10% to 40% less. By using 10%, that's the most conservative estimation I've seen online, according to all the research. But what we actually need is that we need to produce 60% more food to feed everyone on this planet. So that is the problem. If you have children or grandchildren that were born around these years, that's the world they'll be living when they enter their adulthood. Imagine a room that has more and more people coming in and less food available. what would they do if you put them hunger in 10 days? What would they act to each other? So what we can do? The main thing, to put it very simply, the soil crisis now is due to the loss of organic content. So soil, when it has organic contents, that it can work with these organic content in the soil, that work with each other, work with plants, that make soil healthy and fertile. Without it, soil will turn into sand. So the solution is to increase organic content into soil to a minimum of 3% to 6%. That's the way that it can still sustain to our future generation. Without the 3%, it won't sustain. And now in Europe is actually among the world's best situation in terms of organic content in soil, but it's also less than 3%. It's around 1% to 2% in Europe. And it is keep dropping. If you look at other parts of the world, it is worse. It is worse. So ways to increase organic matter in soil is to bring agricultural land under vegetation and shade. Also enrich soil through plant litter and animal waste. And this whole point of protecting the organic content in soil is what the Safe Soil movement is about. It is launched by an Indian spiritual leader, Sadhguru. And his foundation is called Isha Foundation. And that is a non-profitable foundation in terms, and that's to serve human well-being. And this foundation is also accredited by United Nations Environment Program to have its observer status for the Environment Assembly. So this man, he's 65 years old. He rode a long motorcycle journey that has 30,000 kilometers from London to southern India. I was in his kickoff in London, and now he has arrived in India. Good for him. And what does it mean? Now we already have 74 nations, 8 Indian states, and 9 international agencies that come on board with Safe Soil movement. We also have across the internet, across all the medias, we have 3.2 billion people voice for soil. And the goal is to have 3.5 people voice for soil. Then that'll be, in the worldwide, that'll be 60% of the electorate in the world. With this number, we cannot be ignored, and political change can be made. So first, as individuals, wherever we are, we can eat more organic food and eat more, especially for those who are in vegan diet or vegetarian. Because first, like mentioned in the previous slide, the food, and especially the fruit and vegetable you're eating, are not as nutritious as you think they are. You need to eat more to get the same nutrition that you believe you were having. And also, when you eat more vegetable and fruit, that's going to cut your carbon print, and you have less stomach for beef, for example. And also, organic matter, organic food, organic agriculture is not a once-for-all solution, but is by far a very environmental friendly way of agriculture, of doing agriculture. At least it can bring the natural and animal waste back into the soil. And also, you just search Safe Soil on Google, and you will see the incredible website and how you can take part in the movement. There are various ways and various degrees that you can take part. For example, what I did was I wrote a letter to our leaders in Welsh. I wrote a letter to Leslie Griffiths, that's the Minister for Rural Affairs and North Wales. I also wrote a letter to Julia James, Minister for Climate Change in Wales. They have a template for that actually. These are the things that you can copy the suggested letter and you can write to these government officials. And also do whatever you know about saving the environment and go even further. Because there's no individual environment crisis to solve, because all the environment issues are actually one issues. We may seem to move from all directions, but we're moving toward one goal. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, so thank you very much, Philip, for this opportunity of talking about nutrient-dense food growing for healthy soils and people. So my name is Dr. Elizabeth Westaway. I'm an international public health nutrition specialist and permaculturalist, and co-founder and director of Growing Real Food for Nutrition. That's Griffin. It's a newly registered social enterprise. It's award-winning as well. And what we're doing is focusing on learning how to grow, measure and promote the benefits of nutrient-dense food for better citizen and planetary health. Right. Now, Growing Real Food for Nutrition's mission is to deepen citizens' understanding of how we derive nutrition from natural processes and to realise its impact on human development. So we are what we eat or think, and this diagram symbolises a paradigm shift in our relationship with nature. So Griffin's vision for the future involves such a paradigm shift from our current worldview based on control on the left-hand side of the diagram, in which profiteering large multinational corporations are using industrial agriculture practices to poison our planet, food and people. And we want instead a worldview based on symbiosis or mutualism, where an abundance of high quality nutrient-dense food and optimal health and well-being prevails. However, to get to the vision on the right, things need to change. Now, there's been a 40% loss of key minerals in the UK food supply chain from 1939 to 1991. And globally, there's been no attempt to define the quality of food we eat to ensure that it is packed full of beneficial nutrients. Now, what we have are principles of a healthy, balanced, diverse and sustainable diet. And I've taken this from a World Wildlife Fund report entitled Eating for 2 Degrees. So basically, the principles espoused here are eat less meat and more plants. So eat a higher proportion of plant-based foods relative to animal source foods, but ensuring that animal source foods are of the highest nutritional quality. Ensure balance and variety, as too much of any one food won't be good for you or the planet, and eat different food groups and different foods within these groups. Avoid highly processed foods. So eat healthy and minimally processed foods and look for fresh ingredients where possible. Choose nutrient-dense foods. So with this, it's necessary to get to know where your food comes from, how the agricultural workers were treated and paid, learn how your food was grown, ideally using regenerative organic and agroecological practices, and consider local and seasonal foods. Also, check national dietary guidelines and find sustainable options that fit the health guidance. So in the UK, the National Food-Based Dietary Guideline is the Eat Well Guide, and this was used to then develop the Live Well plate, which has added environmental criteria linking nutrition with planetary health. Now, if the guidance is to eat more plants as a food group, fruit and vegetables, I'll say supposedly have many benefits. They are considered rich sources of essential nutrients such as vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients, including antioxidants and polyphenols. But I'd like to add, only if they're nutrient dense. So different coloured fruit and vegetables contain different phytonutrients, and phytonutrients can protect tissues and cells from inflammation by helping to regulate immune function to prevent the risk of developing chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes. Now, there's a growing body of research showing how fruit and vegetable consumption can impact type 2 diabetes. And a study by Zheng et al. Published in the British Medical Journal in 2020, which included over 23,000 participants, reported that diets high in fruit and vegetables may help to reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 50%. The study concluded that consumption of even a moderately increased amount of fruit and vegetables could help to prevent the condition. Now, for me, the next study I want to describe, I feel this is really exciting because the types and varieties of vegetables eaten by type 2 diabetics have been found to be important for disease reversal and prevention. So a randomized control trial by Bwyd et al. In Denmark was published in a high impact journal in 2021, that was Nutrients, showed that daily consumption of 500 grams of traditional varieties of strong and bitter tasting root vegetables and cabbages, which have a high phytonutrient content, when eaten by type 2 diabetics over a 12-week period, had significant health improvements. And that was compared to another group of type 2 diabetics that were eating the same amount of but modern sweet tasting varieties of the same vegetables, and also compared with another group of type 2 diabetics who were eating only 125 grams of these modern sweet tasting varieties, which is like the normal Nordic diet, the habitual Nordic diet. So these studies show that the food we eat needs to be as nutrient dense as possible with high levels of phytonutrients. Now, if food quality is based on nutrient density, how can we measure it? And at the moment, there are a couple of tools available, which I'll briefly describe. So on the left, we've got the science of refractometry, which has developed the Brix refractometer, which measures total dissolved solids in a liquid, such as the products of photosynthesis in plant sap. So in the diagram here, you'd squish a pea onto the prism within the Brix refractometer, look through an eyepiece, and what you'll see is the scale 0 to 32 on the left-hand side of that diagram, and it tells you the nutrient density of that pea. And secondly, we've got the science of spectroscopy, which has been used by the Bionutrient Institute in the USA to develop an affordable handheld scanner, the bionutrient meter, which you can see in the diagram, that can scan crop nutrients in real time. So that little diagram is a bit out of date because you don't actually have to destroy the carrot to get the reading. You just put the carrot underneath the little flip up lid, and which is a lot better. So are all fruit and vegetables nutrient dense? Can we assume this? Well, Griffin is collaborating with the Bionutrient Institution, and it's been researching crop nutrient variation since 2018, having started out by asking the question, is a carrot, or do they vary? So just say that again, is a carrot, or do they vary? So hundreds of plants were analysed for 13 different elements, including calcium, potassium, iron, copper, and zinc, as well as antioxidants and polyphenols, which are two well-defined plant secondary metabolites associated with flavour and nutritional value. And they're also very important for human health. So what did they find? Well, in relation to the mineral elements, in spinach, iron varied by 14 to 1. so that one spinach leaf with the highest level has as much iron as 14 spinach leaves with the lowest level. That's the diagram on the left. And similarly, in carrots, potassium varied by 15 to 1. And note that most of the values cluster at the lower levels. Now, when it comes to those higher order nutritional compounds, such as antioxidants and polyphenols, in carrots, the ratios are even more astounding. So it's 90 to 1 for antioxidants and 200 to 1 for polyphenols. So again, one carrot with the highest level has as much polyphenol as 200 carrots with the lowest levels. And again, note that most of the values cluster at the lower levels. So these results show that a carrot is definitely not a carrot, and there is significant variation. Now, the Bionutrient Institute wanted to learn how to grow nutrient-dense food, and in 2019, they added more crops along with the soil samples in which those crops were grown in. And they collected data on crop management and environmental conditions, such as cover cropping, crop variety, soil minerals, tillage practices, soil carbon, fertility amendments of fertilizers, irrigation type, soil biological activity, mulching, and much more. And after reviewing over 3,000 samples of crops and the soils in which they were grown, it was clear that not one factor, such as type of seed, no-till, or fertility product, correlates with nutrient density variation. It seems to be a combination of these factors. And they found that the highest levels of antioxidants and polyphenols were in crops grown using regenerative practices, such as very low or no-till and continuous cover crops. They also found that taste can serve as a useful indicator in predicting nutrient density. And they also found that the lower levels of antioxidants and polyphenols in the crops they studied were actually in those either grown in greenhouses or hydroponically. So this illustration on the right shows that one would have to eat 8 blueberries or 3 carrots to equal 1 grown in an optimal growing condition that favors nutrient density. Now, observed variation in crop nutrient density did not correlate with local, organic, or any other labeling or marketing type. And so Dan Kittredge, the Bionutrient Institute's founder and CEO, considers that such labels are just process standards, not food quality standards. So there's a definite need for a food quality standard based on nutrient density. And to avoid the need for a bureaucratic certification system, the Bionutrient Institute has been building and calibrating the handheld bionutrient meter that you see on the right, that anyone from a grower to a food citizen can use to get a real-time, non-invasive assessment of the nutrient density of the food they want to measure. And for citizens, this will be prior to purchase. They're also developing an app for a phone. So in the not too distant future, you could be in Tesco, pick up a carrot, put it next to your phone, scan it, and it will tell you whether it's got high, medium, or low levels of antioxidants or polyphenols. And then you can make an informed decision about whether you want to waste your money on a carrot that has very little nutritional value. Now, the Bionutrient Institute's also identified a relationship between soil carbon and nutrient density. And these graphs show a strong correlation between an increase in microbial activity and soil carbon, with an increase in beneficial nutrients such as antioxidants and polyphenols. So simply put, growing more nutrient-dense food can sequester more carbon. And other benefits of growing more nutrient-dense food include increased biodiversity, improved soil structure with greater water holding capacity, and reduced risk of flooding, and no soil or water pollution, as well as high-quality, nutritious food for better population health. So it's a win-win-win approach. And just to comment on the quote there by Walter Jenne, an eminent soil microbiologist from Australia, he prioritises the hydrological cycle by increasing soil water holding capacity and carbon sequestration so that 20 billion tonnes of carbon a year could be put back into the soil if we start to repair the soil carbon sponge. And that can be by adding soil organic matter. So interest in connections between plant health, food and human health, as well as soil health and agriculture practices, is increasing. And in 2020, the Rodale Institute in the USA published their report, The Power of the Plate, the Case for Regenerative Organic Agriculture and Improving Human Health. Now, the report highlights a prevention-based approach to human and environmental health through an organic, whole foods, plant-forward diet that begins on farms that work in harmony with nature and calls for better connections between agricultural systems and healthcare systems. And the report concludes that the link between soil health and human health is largely unexplored and must be advanced. Now, in 2021, the Croatan Institute in the USA published their report. That's the Regenerative Agriculture and Human Health Nexus, Insights from Field to Body. And the report defines regenerative agriculture as agriculture practices that seek to improve the nutritional value of food. So it offers a framework for categorizing and better understanding different levels of nutritional interventions. And these are from the most basic level of replacing unhealthy foods with healthy foods, all the way to considering nutrient density and interventions that support human microbiomes. So the report reflects that growing more nutritious food does influence human health, and it calls for a new vocabulary because how we talk about nutrition and nutrients does not yet adequately capture the complexity and dynamism of food. So in conclusion, the report says, we may never completely understand exactly how nutrient density influences human health, but we know enough to act. And for Charles Massey, this notion of food as medicine is clear. If people ate truly nutrient-rich food out of healthy soil, you would slash the National Health Bill straight away. Now, Griffin has a number of key advocacy messages. We want to shift the narrative from food quantity based on yield to food quality based on nutrient density. We want to shift the narrative away from food poverty and food security to nutrition security, to acknowledge the different factors at multiple levels that impact nutrition, health, and well-being. We want to underscore the right to nutritious food, the use of food as medicine to reverse and prevent diet-related non-communicable diseases, such as type 2 diabetes, and to prioritize a healthy microbiome as the foundation of human and planetary health. Now, Griffin has been busy running a number of activities to build the evidence on nutrient density, and I'll just run through these quickly. In the top right, Matara Demonstration Trial Garden has been set up in Gloucestershire in England by my colleague Matthew Adams, trialling 3 different growing practices. In a citizen science project, over 50 growers and farmers, mainly from the UK with a few from the global south, they were as grower partners, have been learning how to grow and measure nutrient-dense food with a handheld Brix refractometer in the diagram on the left. Griffin was also commissioned by Jenny Rathbone, member of the Senate for Cardiff Central, to measure the nutrient density of fruit and vegetables sold in 5 retail outlets in Cardiff using a Brix refractometer. And these were Paul's Organic Veg, that actually came out the best overall with actually nutrient-dense food grown locally. Wellfield Road Barrow, Waitrose, Lidl and Tesco. And the results were included in the Senate debate that Jenny led on nutrient density of local fruit and vegetables as part of an informed transition away from obesogenic environments, which was very well received by the Deputy Minister of Health. And that took place last September. And really excitingly, last week, we heard that we've been approved some funding for a pilot project to set up a laboratory in the UK to send crop and soil samples for analysis, with results providing UK data points on a global open source database of crop nutrient variation, which will also be used to help calibrate the bionutrient meter for specific crops. So that is like amazing. We've been waiting for this for a long while. So in conclusion, you can support Griffin's work by taking out membership, making a donation, becoming a grower partner, signing up to our mailing list via the website www.griffin.org, or following us on Twitter at Griffin_CIC. So I'd like to extend an invitation of please join Griffin's journey, learning how to grow, measure and promote the benefits of nutrient-dense food for better citizen and planetary health. Thank you very much. Right, so yeah, thanks very much, Philip. So yeah, just wanting to talk a little bit about sustainable food places. So this presentation is about Bwyd Abertawe campaigning to make Swansea a sustainable food place. So sustainable food places is one of the fastest growing social movements today, with a network bringing together pioneering food partnerships from towns, cities, boroughs, districts and counties across the UK that are driving innovation and best practice in all aspects of healthy and sustainable food. And Sustainable Food Places is a partnership programme led by the Soil Association, Food Matters and Sustain, the Alliance for Better Food and Farming. It's funded by Esme Fairbairn Foundation and the National Lottery Community Fund. So currently there are over 70 SFP network members across the UK. Until a couple of years ago, there was only Food Cardiff in Wales, which actually achieved its Silver Award in 2021. So after Food Cardiff, this is about 2 years ago now, the Vale was set up, and in the last year, there's several other SFPs have been established. Now, Sustainable Food Places believes that a transition to a healthy, sustainable and more equitable food system requires not only strong national policy, but also collaborative action between policymakers, businesses and civil society at the local level. And for anyone who knows about Sustainable Food Places, these little infographics here are, just standard practice. So there are 6 key issues that SFPs need to address and showcase. So the first one on the top left, and I'll go across the top from left to right, is food governance and strategy. So taking a strategic and collaborative approach to good food governance and action. Then we have a good food movement. So building public awareness, active food citizenship, and a local good food movement. Healthy food for all, so tackling both food poverty and diet-related ill health and access to affordable healthy food. So on the bottom, coming from left to right, we need to develop a sustainable food economy, and that's creating a vibrant, prosperous and diverse sustainable food economy. Then catering and procurement, so transforming catering and procurement and revitalising local and sustainable food supply chains. And lastly, and for me, this is most important, food for the planet. So tackling the climate and nature emergency through sustainable food and farming and an end to food waste. So research shows that places that become sustainable food places experience significant positive social and economic impacts. So let's take a look at Swansea's SFP journey to date. And you'll sort of see it's quite interesting what's been happening. So we start off in March 2021, and at the request of its members, Swansea Community Growing Network established Swansea's food resilience movement in a meeting attended by councillors, third sector organisations, Public Health Wales, educators, food producers and other businesses. And the 16 participants decided that becoming an SFP would offer the necessary structure and support that can create a transformative food system for Swansea City and County. So rebranded as Bwyd Abertawe, the campaign to make Swansea an SFP to date has held 11 meetings, showcased 10 local organisations who are doing food-related activities, and the SFP working group, which is the de facto steering group, has met 12 times. Now, progress has been supported along the way by For the Regions Regional Food Systems Conference that took place in October 2021 with over 100 participants from the 4 counties and with quite a good turnout from Swansea, I should say. And this recommended that Swansea becomes an SFP. Now, additionally, For the Region invited Bwyd Abertawe to run an exhibition stand called Feeding Swansea at Swansea Arena's landmark City Centre conference in March 2022. And this resulted in 50 additional people signing up to the Bwyd Abertawe mailing list, which currently is around 300. Now, over the last year, we've been having conversations with many different stakeholders across the different sectors, so public, private and third sector, and including representatives from the local authority. And, you know, many saw the potential for a collaboration between Bwyd Abertawe and, you know, creating this transformative food system. Now, on the 30th of March 2022, Bwyd Abertawe organised the first Swansea Food Forum, which was attended by 75 people. And the Food Forum was run as a people's assembly to gather participants' ideas on creating a better food system that works for people and nature for Swansea City and County, and to help co-design, to use the ideas to help co-design a vision of food charter for Swansea. Now, in terms of feedback on the Food Forum, participants felt engaged, they enjoyed lively discussions in the breakout rooms and wanted to remain engaged to help with delivery. One person said, "I thought the forum was a really great start. I'm just so pleased we're moving forward with a food resilience plan for Swansea." Now, other participants queried the People's Assembly methodology and wanted to build networks, share information and learn what others are doing. However, many really innovative ideas and big thinking may have been lost in the process, just because we, you know, have so many excellent ideas and not everything could be taken forward. So after all these ideas have been distilled, a one-page summary document of key themes and priorities was developed and shared with the Bwyd Abertawe mailing list. And these key themes and priorities included these 5 themes here. So about improved collaboration, such as between sectors to ensure local procurement is supported and made easier, and organisations of all sizes and types can work for mutual benefit. The second theme was about ending food poverty, with an increased number of local growing and community food initiatives so everyone has access to the healthy food they need. Number 3 was about land availability and policy. So we need policies that resolve planning issues for growers and support smaller producers to be viable, whilst encouraging larger producers to work in a regenerative way. Next, a theme of education and skills. And we need to develop education and skills of children and young people about food and growing and embed growing in schools. And the final theme was about Swansea's food landscape, so that people in Swansea understand the benefits to themselves and their environments of using local food, leading to increased demand. Now, during the Food Forum, participants were asked for one word to describe what does sustainable food mean for you. And this is the word cloud that was produced, and that has been shared previously as well. So it's clearly highlighting the importance of local food for Swansea people. Now, on the 1st of June 2022, Bwyd Abertawe organised a visioning event attended by 11 people and facilitated by Hannah Norman. Now, she is the Wales Community Food Manager at Food Sense Wales and is responsible for the rollout of places across Wales becoming SFPs. So this visioning event, it was about identifying key players, networks and groups making a positive change to Swansea's food system. And we also discussed 6-month and 2-year actions for the Bwyd Abertawe Food Partnership. Now, this is really good timing because this thinking was then incorporated into an SFP development grant application, which was submitted with 16 letters of support from different stakeholder organisations across Swansea by the Environment Centre on the 20th of June 2022. And this is for £10,000 to employ a part-time coordinator to strengthen Bwyd Abertawe's food partnership and progress Swansea's application to become an SFP network member. Now we need a drum roll here, but anyway, 2 days ago, we discovered that the SFP grant application was approved. Yippee! And yesterday, when I informed the members of the SFP working group about this, an immediate action was the Environment Centre and Bwyd Abertawe to start project implementation, focusing on the part-time coordinator recruitment process. So this is particularly needed as the person has to be in post by the end of September 2022. So time is of the absolute essence. So please note as well, this position will be publicised in due course. It's all, very new that we've actually got this funding, which is really exciting. So it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour of Swansea's SFP journey to date, and the grant funding will, I'm sure, lead to some exciting activities. The plan is for Swansea to become an SFP network member in March 2023. So that's the start, and then we just need to go for bronze, silver and gold awards. So all of this work's been carried out by a small group of passionate volunteers with the support of many others, who've helped make things happen, and to have such a positive conclusion to this last year of our activities. So if you'd like to contact Bwyd Abertawe, here's the email address. We're pretty active on Twitter, and there's a Facebook page as well. So thank you very much.